Hi, Gary Brooks, and so I'd like to introduce to you a mod called Siege of Boston. Again, it's a history lug, our history-oriented lug that we do. And what's here going on with Siege of Boston? Bottom line is, at the start of the British War, the Revolutionary War, the very first phase was the British occupying this key city. We wanted to get them out, so we couldn't because they were very well fortified. However, there is a place called the Twin Hills of Dorchester Heights that overlook Boston, and essentially if you can get some artillery up there, especially if you do it quickly before the British know it, then essentially you make their position untenable. They can't stay there, because now you can start shelling their ships and they can't do a darn thing about it. So what George Washington did in his brilliance is he waited until he had the guns from Fort Ticonderoga from Henry Knox bringing them in, and then in just one night, he moved his men in, moved 20 cannons in, and essentially created two redoubts that were suicidal to try and get to. So as a result, then, pretty much the British were forced to evacuate. So this is a absolutely key event in American history that not very many people know about except the Bostonians, because the Bostonians celebrate it with what's called Evacuation Day. Essentially then, by very quickly occupying this space, what you had was a very, very key result without bloodshed. So in a way, this is kind of a classic good type of maneuver with regards to warfare, where you outthink and outsmart your enemy and nobody dies, because the British woke up the next morning and saw these two redoubts that they couldn't possibly do anything about and said, well, we got to get out of here. So in fact, the British General Howe, when he looked up in shock and saw it, he said, well, these fellows have done in one night more than I can make my entire army do in 3 months. And they were forced to leave, I think it was 12 days later. So that is known as Evacuation Day in Boston. So in Boston, they know all about it, but the rest of America's kind of forgotten this little piece of history, the Siege of Boston, where basically George Washington moved up all this material and his men in very quickly overnight. It was just a kind of a key, neat build. So I just wanted to do a little piece of this. I didn't want to commit a lot of troops because I needed to save some troops for other builds later on with regards to this America 1776 thing, but it's kind of just a nice little sweet piece here.
Now, when you're in the process of placing these figures and kind of composing the whole scene, what pieces of reference material do you use?
So, of course, you go online and you can do some research there. My friend John Rudy is a historian, so he can help out with that too. The bottom line is, though, I did get online and kind of read up a lot about it. So, actually, I do have these placed very carefully, which is one artillery piece that's finished. They have the redoubt built. They have the supports built. They're good. Another one, and they're chopping down trees to support the next one, as you can see, and transporting it. And they're loading it to get it ready. And then the third is still actually being moved in position. So, yeah, and these are called chandeliers, and it's kind of a brilliant little, very cheap way of stopping musket balls. One thing I really like about this build, I wasn't able to do with the rest of the builds, is it reflects kind of the character of George Washington's army, which is, if you notice, we have actually 3 African-American figures on here. And 1/5 of George Washington's army was Black American. So it's one of those goals. I'm like, I gotta show this. So in a way, I was able to show one free black who has enlisted, and he's full up a Continental, and then another who's a militiaman, and he's agreed to join because his masters joined, and he will be freed at the end of the war. That was the agreement. And then you have a full up African American who's unfortunately still under slavery, and all 3 had that in the war essentially.